Director, ANI Foundation. We also have Tassel Leventis from APLORI Institute. We have on the procession Dr. Osibanjo D.O., Assistant Director, ORD. Also following is Dr. Talatu Tende, Deputy Director, APLORI. We also have Dr. Hope Obe Oseta, Executive Director, Leventis Foundation, Nigeria. On the procession is also Dr. Longton Turshak, who is a reader, Department of Zoology, University of Jos. We have Professor Ali Ahmad, Plant Science, University of Jos, Professor Kezia Absalom, HOD Zoology, Nacho Mojo Joffrey, Country Manager, ANI Foundation, Dr. Lucy Akpa, Department of Zoology, Dr. Namviat Namni, Zoology, DCP Jonah Moses. We have Nanker D. Dajab. We also have Phil Hall, Chairman APLORI, Louisa Leventis, Leventis Foundation, Iveren A. Plant Science and Biotechnology, University of Jos, Dr. Stella Egbe, Nigerian Conservation Foundation is also on the procession. Ladies and gentlemen, coming behind, we have the very executive management team of this prestigious institution, University of Jos. We have the bursar of the University of Jos, Mr. Philip Umbugala. We also have the librarian of the University of Jos, in the person of Professor Victoria Ladi Lawal. She is here ably represented by Mrs. Nanker Dajab. We also have the very distinguished Vice Chancellor of this prestigious institution, Professor Tanko Ishaya. He is here with us, ably represented by the Deputy Vice Chancellor Academics, in the person of Professor Rahila Plangnan Gowon. Ladies and gentlemen, these are the members here with us. And while we remain standing very soon, we will be commencing this event in full. May I request us all to remain standing, ladies and gentlemen, while we take the national anthem, after which we will be taking the University of Jos anthem. This will be presented by the creative curators of Life's Art. May we please stand as we take the national anthem. Kindly remember that the third stanza will be our opening prayer. Thank you. Can we take the national anthem, after which you would play the University of Jos anthem immediately. Please, a round of applause for her. May I most respectfully welcome the chairman and members of ASU here present, directors, deputy directors from Research and Development Office, University of Jos. May I welcome the Dean School of Natural Science, Dean Postgraduate School, heads of departments, and very specially, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, may I welcome Dr. Anastasio Paul Leventis, who is the founder and founder of APLORI. Please, a resounding applause for him. Please, can you just wave? Thank you. Thank you, sir. May I also recognize Philip Hall, who is the board chairman, APLORI. Please, appreciate him with an applause. You're welcome. Permit me to also recognize members of APLORI board. We have here present Alhaji Ahmed Manti, who is the board chairman, Leventis Foundation, Nigeria. Please, let's appreciate him. We have Dr. Hope. You're welcome, sir. You're welcome to University of Jos. We're happy to have you indeed. We have paramount rulers here with us. The ruler of Izere Nation, His Royal Highness Reverend Dr. Isaac Aziwakili, accompanied by the village head of Laminga, Adagom Musa Arin, Adagom Atsen Adang, Adagom Samuel Itse, Adagom Atsen Atang, Adagom Atsen Izang. Please, a resounding applause for them. You're welcome this morning. The Conservator General National Park Services, Dr. Ibrahim Musa Goni, represented by DCP Jonah Moses, Acting Conservator of Parks Panda National Park. Please, let's give him a resounding applause. You're welcome to University of Jos. We're glad to have you, sir. The Curator National Museum Jos Office is here. Can we please appreciate him with an applause? The Acting Zonal Head, National Environmental and Regulations Environment Agency, Nigeria, is here with us as well. Can we please appreciate him? You're welcome, sir. The Director General Research and Documentation, Plateau State Government, Dr. Sam Godongs, is here with us. Please, let's appreciate him with an applause. Ladies and gentlemen, I know we can do better than that. Can we appreciate our distinguished guest? The special guest of honor is here with us, the Honorable Commissioner, Ministry of Tourism, Culture and Hospitality, Cornelius Dioyo. Please, a round of applause for him. Commissioner for Science and Technology is here with us. Can we please appreciate him with a resounding applause? Commissioner for Environment, Commissioner for Information, Commissioner, Ministry of Local Government and Chieftaincy Affairs. They are all here with us. Please, ladies and gentlemen, can we appreciate them? We also have the Chairman, Nigerian Union of Journalists, Plateau State. Please, can we appreciate the Chairman? Okay, thank you. Thank you. You're welcome, ma. The Director of Press and Public Affairs to the Governor is here with us as well. Please, let's appreciate the Director with an applause. Director Wildlife Park Services is here with us as well. Please, a round of applause for the Director. We have media partners, PRTV, NTA, ICE FM, members of the press. You are highly welcome to this event this morning, the 9th Leventis Lecture, organized by the AP Leventis Ornithological Research Institute, APLORI, Center of Excellence, University of Jos, Nigeria. Ladies and gentlemen, please give a resounding applause for yourself. Thank you so much for making it. Thank you for coming. Thank you for honoring us with your presence. It means a lot. At this point, may I give this chance for the welcome address by the Vice Chancellor, the chief host of this very event. Ladies and gentlemen, join me as we welcome the Vice Chancellor, Professor Tanko Ishaya, ably represented by the Deputy Vice Chancellor Academics, Professor Rahila Plangdan. Please a resounding applause for the Vice Chancellor. Thank you.
Good morning, members of the congregation. I welcome Dr. Anastasio P. Leventis and his team, both from the UK and in Nigeria, all the principal officers here present and those represented, our deans and directors, including the director of APLORI and all his management team. I recognize all our guests from the state government, members of the press, His Royal Highness the Da Agwam of Afizere, Isaac A. Wakili. Okay, no, it is Agwam Izere of the Izere Nation and all his cabinet resource idea of what nature is all about and what conservation is all about. We are supposed to have this lecture every year, but I think for events and circumstances like strike, we have not been able to have it every year. My suggestion is that management of the university and the APLORI Center should be able to devise ways of making sure that this lecture...
The citation of the honoree of the lecture. This will be read by the Senior Communications Officer, APLORI, Naleb Kumle. Please a resounding applause for her as she makes her way to the podium. Please let's appreciate her, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you.
Distinguished ladies and gentlemen. Good morning, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. Please, sir, with your indulgence, can you kindly stand? This is an abridged citation. We gather to honor a man whose life is defined by humility, vision, and tireless service to nature and people. Today, the University of Jos and the AP Leventis Ornithological Research Institute Center of Excellence celebrate Dr. Anastasios Paul Tasso Leventis, CBE OFR, a benefactor, mentor, and human capacity builder whose generosity and leadership have left an enduring mark on conservation, education, and community life. Anastasio Paul Leventis is a distinguished philanthropist and a conservation leader. Since 2003, he has served as chairman of the A.G. Leventis Foundation and was a founding trustee of the Nigerian Conservation Foundation, NCF. An accomplished ornithologist and a committed patron of science-led conservation, Dr. Leventis has combined practical field expertise with strategic philanthropy across Africa, Cyprus, Greece, and beyond. He holds an honorary professorship from the Mariupol University of Humanities, Ukraine, an honorary fellowship from King's College, London, an honorary doctorate from the University of Athens, the University of Exeter, the University of Jos, and the Agricultural University of Abeokuta in Nigeria. He established the AP Leventis Ornithological Research Institute in Jos, now West Africa Center of Excellence for Ornithology, Research, and Training. APLORI has graduated more than 200 conservation professionals, playing roles across government, academia, NGOs, and community programs. I think we will clap for that. Thank you so much. Thank you, because that's one of the reasons why we're honoring him today. His backing enabled the creation of the Pecheve Nature Reserve on Obudu Plateau and provided sustained administrative support for the Hadeja and Guru Ramsar wetlands. Through long-term funding, governance, guidance, and hands-on engagement, he has strengthened conservation organizations and helped translate science into action on the ground. His funding and institutional support helped build regional capacity and field offices protecting threatened species, including the secretary bird and the cross-weaver gorilla. He has for over 3 decades through the Leventis Foundation Nigeria Agricultural Youth Scheme trained and equipped over 30,000 youths and farmers who have completed residential training in sustainable farming methods. Thank you. This scheme has established 6 agricultural training schools to optimize proximity and accessibility. The 7th training school is slated for Plateau State. Founder of BirdLife Cyprus and honorary vice president of BirdLife International, long-standing service of multiple conservation and cultural boards, fellow of the Royal Geographical Society and recipient of national and international honors reflecting his conservation impact and public service. A legacy of institutional resilience, community-centered conservation, and sustained investment in Africa's natural heritage. Note, you will agree with me that he leads without seeking the spotlight, preferring to build others' capacity and sustain institutions for the long term. Combines field expertise with strategic philanthropy to ensure that investments deliver measurable conservation outcomes. A tireless mentor to young scientists and conservation practitioners whose careers and communities have transformed by his support. If your heart is grateful for any blessing received through the magnanimity of this remarkable man, please join me in celebrating an embodiment of humility, selflessness, and strength, Dr. Anastasios Tasso Leventis. Thank you for your warmth, sacrifice for people, wildlife, and nature of our shared world. Congratulations, sir.
Thank you so much, Nanleb Kumle. Thank you, Dr. Anastasio Paul Leventis. We appreciate your sacrifice and your great work. Your service to humanity is exemplary. Once again, a resounding applause for him, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much. May I once again recognize a paramount ruler amongst us. I had initially recognized his presence. He is the Izere. He is a ruler of Izere Nation, His Royal Highness. Here with us, ladies and gentlemen, please a resounding applause for him. Let's appreciate him. It is an honor to have you, Your Royal Highness. He is accompanied by village head of Laminga, Adago Musa Arin. Applause. Thank you. Are they ready? The Asharua dancers. I hope you sit, relax, and enjoy your time. Thank you. A resounding applause for this beautiful display of culture. Indeed, our culture is beautiful. Thank you so much, the Asharua dancers. I hope you had a great time, ladies and gentlemen. While this was going on, we had the Honorable Commissioner for Culture, Tourism and Hospitality, Plateau State, walk in. He is here in person. Please join me as I welcome Honorable Cornelius Dongnan de York here. You're welcome, sir. Can we please have you up on the podium as you take your remark this morning, sir? You're welcome, sir. Please, a resounding applause for him as he takes his remark as our special guest of honor. You're welcome, sir.
Our royal fathers here present, distinguished College of Academias here, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, permit me to lean on the already established protocol. First of all, let me please tender my unreserved apology for coming late. It is not in my character, but the exigencies of my office had to keep me away. And I think I missed the venue. I was actually heading to the APLORI Center until I was reminded that it is here. So that's why I had to come late. Please permit me and accept my apology. It is with an honor to stand before you today at this annual lecture of the AP Leventis Ornithological Research Institute, Nigerian Premier Center for Bird Research and Conservation. The topic, bringing nature and people back to life, resonates deeply in a world where the threads connecting us to the natural world are frowning. Today, as we gather to celebrate the wonders of avian life, I reflect on the immense value of institutes like APLORI in a world where biodiversity is increasingly under threat. Your work, blending cutting-edge science with community engagement, is a beacon for conservation. Birds are more than just indicators of ecosystem health. They are connectors of cultures, inspirations for innovation, and vital to the ecological balance of our planet. From the vast migratory flyways crying Africa to the unique species of Plateau State, just to be specific, a birding hotspot, Nigeria is blessed with incredible avian biodiversity. APLORI's focus on research training and outreach is critical. By studying birds, we learn about ourselves and relationship with nature, our stewards of resources, and the interconnectedness of life. The Institute's work with local communities, school, and policy makers show how ornithology can drive practical conservation solutions. As you honor excellence in research and celebrate discoveries, I urge us all, let's translate knowledge into action. Habitat loss, climate change, and human-wildlife conflicts threaten birds globally. Example is that of the pandam wildlife. I think it's one of the things that has break my heart over the years. Unfortunately, pandam wildlife is within the local government I come from. And when this thing was happening within this game reserve, I was expecting to see a community call from all enthusiasts of this sector, but it was left for just the community to cry over it. Because when the devastation of Pandam Game Reserve was going on, I did not hear from most of the enthusiasts within this conservation sector. We as a community raise issues because we know that Pandam Game Reserve is also a hub of a lot of birds. And we know while we're growing up, a lot of tourists come to Pandam Game Reserve to actually watch birds and then see other biodiversity. But we allowed it to be destroyed because of our human needs. Right now, Pandam Game Reserve is a shadow of itself because they have locked all the trees in that place. Most of the animals that used to be there are no longer there. Most of the birds have to find other places to go and stay. So it is true that our biodiversity is under threat. And with the threat of climate change, it has worsened the situation. But gathering like this give us hope. Hope in the sense that most of our areas that are being destroyed by human activities can be restored. So I urge this gathering to come up with policies and research areas that can involve the community deeply, and I will make awareness for the conservation of our reserve areas. Most importantly is that the awareness that we normally have within the city center does not resonate with those that are living within the communities that this blessing of nature has been given to us there. So if the communities are involved and if the communities are aware of the advantage of these conservation areas and some of the species of these birds, because believe me a lot of people use birds as meal in their communities. They go for hunting. Meanwhile, in other places, people use it as source of economic livelihood. So it is right time for us to also get involved as community and as government. But under my watch in the Ministry of Tourism, Culture and Hospitality, we are working with the stakeholders to see that we conserve this biodiversity and bring to life the kind of assets that Plateau State has to offer to the world. I want to thank you sincerely for coming to this gathering and for organizing this public lecture that is meant to bring us together, to bring us to nature, because the topic, as I read it, the topic of this event is actually apt, and it is time that we also all reflect on nature. Thank you very much for the opportunity given to me, and I hope that we will have a successful lecture. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Honorable Commissioner. I believe he deserves better than that. Please, let's appreciate him. Thank you so much for coming. At this point, ladies and gentlemen, the 9th Leventis Lecture will be presented by Sir Tunde Morakinyo. Please, a resounding applause for him. May I request that he comes forward while the introduction and citation of the guest lecturer is presented by the Deputy Director, APLORI, Dr. Talatu Tende. Please, a resounding applause for him. He will be presenting on bringing nature and people back to life, Gashaka, Gumti, and Okomu National Parks. Please, a resounding applause as his citation is taken, after which he will be presenting the lecture. Please enjoy your time and make sure you make the most of it. You're welcome, sir.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Permit me to stand on already established protocol. The Vice Chancellor of the University of Jos, Professor Ishaya Tanko, here represented by the Deputy Vice Chancellor, Professor Rahila. As I stand this morning to present to you the speaker for the 9th Leventis Annual Lecture, Mr. Tunde Morakinyo. Tunde Morakinyo is a community forestry and tropical forest conservation specialist with 30 years experience in implementing natural resource management projects for non-NGOs, private and public sector, cutting across West and Central Africa. He is the executive director at the African Nature Investors Foundation, popularly known as ANI. ANI is a non-for-profit foundation established with the aims to catalyze the participation of African opinion leaders in conservation and to demonstrate that public-private partnership co-management model in protected areas can become engines for capacity building, poverty alleviation, and development. ANI believes the private sector should finance wild conservation, which we equally believe as conservationists, and which they have also demonstrated in what they are doing. With his over 3 decades of experience in tropical forest conservation, community forestry, and protected area management, Tunde is a leading figure in Nigerian conservation. Please, can we put our hands together for him? Born to a Nigerian father from Ibadan, Oyo State, southwest Nigeria, and a British mother, Tunde grew up exploring forests and waterfalls, experiences that inspired his lifelong commitment to environmental and nature protection. By age 16, he had resolved to devote his life to forest conservation, and thank you very much for that, Tunde. He attended the International School Ibadan, the United World College of the Atlantic, and he studied chemical engineering at the University of Bath in the United Kingdom. Amazing, right? He proceeded to the School of Forestry and Agricultural Sciences, University College of North Wales, Bangor, in the United Kingdom, for his master's in environmental forestry. Here, Tunde has demonstrated that nature conservation stems from love for natural environment and not from what you have obtained from your degree. In the 1990s, Tunde worked on community forestry projects across Nigeria and Cameroon, gaining first-hand experience in participatory conservation and sustainable forest management. He later joined Environmental Resources Management, where he spent over 16 years as a partner, advising on environmental, social, and governance issues, biodiversity offsets, and social management systems for major development projects. His various consulting experiences deepened his understanding of how environmental protection and economic development can align through effective governance and financial sustainability. Motivated to create a direct impact in his fatherland, Nigeria, a nation blessed with rich biodiversity, Tunde co-founded the ANI Foundation. The foundation has since become a strategic partner of the Nigerian National Park Service. Under his leadership, ANI has led the co-management of the Gashaka Gumti National Park since 2017 and the Okomu landscape since 2022. Gashaka Gumti is better experienced than said. If you have not been there, you are missing and you have missed. And I encourage everyone to try and visit Gashaka Gumti National Park. These efforts have revitalized both landscapes through ranger-led law enforcement, improved infrastructure, community development, and wildlife recovery initiatives. In Okomu National Park, Annie's focus is on rainforest protection and forest elephant conservation. And Tunde demonstrates this, that his belief that sustainable conservation must involve and benefit both the local communities and people that stay around protected areas. And besides the Gashaka, Gumti and Okomu National Park projects, he is currently working with UNESCO for the World Heritage Site nomination of Cross River National Park. Please let's put our hands together for him. And beyond his fieldwork, Tunde is a strong advocate for policy reform and conservation finance. He actively supported Nigeria's 2024 Endangered Species Conservation and Protection Bill, recognizing its potential to strengthen wildlife governance and combat illegal wildlife trade. He also promotes innovative funding models such as ecotourism and carbon credit to make protected areas self-sustaining. Guided by the conviction that national parks must be economically relevant to survive, he envisions a future where conservation enhances livelihoods and despite ongoing challenges like illegal logging, poaching, and encroachment, Tunde remains committed to restoring Nigerians' natural resources and inspiring citizens to value their natural heritage. Through the African Nature Investors Foundation, he continues to demonstrate that effective conservation in Nigeria can be both sustainable and transformative. Ladies and gentlemen, please, with a round of applause, let's welcome our 9th guest speaker for the annual Leventis Lecture, Mr. Tunde Morakinyo. You are welcome.
Actually, nature is the foundation of all life. We don't have rainfall for our crops. Without nature, we don't have rainfall for our crops. Without nature, we don't have a decent climate and clean air to breathe. Without these, we cannot live as human beings. So this is why nature is so important, or something you learn about on television. Nature is important, or something you learn about on television. Nature influences everything we do, and we need it to survive. Previously said, Annie Foundation works in 2 national parks, Gashaka Gumti National Park in Taraba and Adamawa State, and Okomu National Park in Edo State. Now, before I go through the lecture itself, I would like to show you a short film. I don't know if it can be displayed. This film was made a few years ago in Gashaka Gumti National Park. And I would like you to watch the film so you can actually see what this park is all about. There's no image. Gashaka is, can we
lost
restart?
World, this jewel on the edge of Nigeria.
Gashaka is a lost world, this jewel on the edge of Nigeria. It's one of the largest national parks in Africa, 6,700 square kilometers.
Gashaka in England, from one biologist who said that Gashaka was legendary in biologist circles. The further you walk into the park, the more special the park becomes. You start with primordial forests, 40-meter high trees. As you keep walking, you get up to the highlands.
And then you have cloud forest. And then you have these montane grasslands that almost look like you could be in Switzerland.
You look across these ridges and for as far as you possibly can see,
You just can't believe how big it is. A lot of the forests in the park haven't been touched by human beings ever. This really is, unexplored Africa. It just takes my breath away. When we first got to the park, we were told that the park only had 5 more years by Chester Zoo and by the University College of London.
They had been doing research on chimpanzees and primates, and then they said, look, this park is on its knees.
We then came across all the challenges facing the park.
The most worrying is the logging.
The illegal trade in rosewood has become the world's most lucrative form of wildlife crime.
There's a tree here in this part of the country called rosewood, which is sought after by the Chinese. And there's industrial scale logging going on in all the forests in this part of Nigeria.
Most of the billion-dollar rosewood trade between Nigeria and China was illegal. It's one of the largest timber laundering operations in history.
It's a very old tree.
Very, very proud.
Thing is that this is deep inside the park. It's incredible.
Until we arrest some of them,
And make an example
they will come back. The illegal loggers are becoming more desperate. They need more trees to cut down. They are encroaching into the park more every day.
The rangers of the park really have lost control.
It has been so dangerous. A lot of these hoodlums use sophisticated weapons.
They kill Sunday, they kill John Paul, they kill Majai. Them, if I remember them sometimes, tears will be coming out inside my eye because times.
When UCL and Chester Zoo said, we have 5 years to save this place, it is 5 years. It's not 20 years, it's not 30 years. And one of the things that many people don't realize is that a huge amount of the water going to the River Benue, which is the largest river in West Africa, comes from this park, comes from the mountains and the forests of this park. Literally millions of West Africans are going to suffer untold hardship because they depend on the river for agriculture, water, fishing.
I don't think people realize how bad it could be.
Does that keep you awake?
Yeah.
So when we came, they knew something to say.
Okay. So we cannot have weak people as rangers. We can't. Or else we're sending them to die.
I think it's important to acknowledge how courageous the Ministry of Environment in Nigeria has been. It was quite a visionary thing for them to sign a 30-year agreement with ANI for the protection and management of the park. We've raised a lot of money, mostly from Nigerians. We've engaged the services of Conservation Outcomes, a renowned organization that train rangers in national parks all over Africa, training on animal tracking, community engagement, human rights, very, very importantly.
They train me very well. I go hard training with Annie. As I'm finishing my training, give my rifle. What I didn't expect that one can happen.
We've just had this passing out parade. You see the hope in everybody's eyes.
So we are ready to do the job. So I believe that from now, by household, they're going to kill up.
Gashaka is a lost world, this jewel on the edge of Nigeria. It's one of the largest national parks in Africa, 6,700 square kilometers.
I'd heard about Gashaka in England from one biologist.
The largest river in West Africa. 2 weeks going to different communities to hear how we'll be able to assist them. And then from there, seeing how we can then build a partnership together to protect the park. We have to get something out of the partnership. They have to get something out of the partnership.
So that gives you a taste of what it is a spectacularly beautiful place. But like in so many places in Nigeria, it's under threat from logging and all the different challenges that our esteemed speaker spoke about earlier. And the real challenge is, how do we make conservation be meaningful and bring economic benefit to people in rural areas, or even to our government, so that they see a reason to protect these places rather than to have them destroyed. This is the challenge that Annie has been trying to face, and it's why we came together as an organization. First slide, please. So who is Annie? We're a Nigerian registered not-for-profit organization founded by Nigerians, led by Africans. And our main mandate is the protection of Nigeria's national parks. We do this through ranger-led law enforcement, but very importantly through the engagement and economic development of the communities that live in and around these parks. And we do this through long-term management agreements, specifically with the National Park Service that falls under the Ministry of Environment. But we also aim to demonstrate that private sector investments can make conservation profitable. Conservation costs a lot of money. It's not something that should be borne by government alone. And we really believe that philanthropy and the private sector also have a role to play in joining hands with government to protect these places. And that is what we as an organization want to bring about. Next slide, please. So our team, we were founded in 2017, and we have grown into quite a large organization now. We have 6 board members, of whom 5 are Nigerians, including myself, and 1 Kenyan who is married to a Nigerian. He's a Nigerian, an honorary Nigerian. And then under that, we have 15 management staff, and then 30 support staff, and 160 field rangers. But I think the thing that is key to point out is that, we provided over 300 direct jobs to the local area, because most of the people working in these parks are from the local area. And we provided another 3,000 indirect jobs. And I'll explain that, because providing employment as a result of conservation is really, really, really important. Next slide, please. So we work in 2 different national parks, as was said earlier. If you have a look at the map, we work in Gashaka Gumti National Park, which is both in Taraba and Adamawa State, on the border with Cameroon, Nigeria's far eastern border. But we also work in Okomu National Park in Edo State. Why are we working in these places? What are we aiming to do? Our aim really is to make these 2 parks the 4 most ecotourist destinations in Nigeria. To do this, we want to make sure that we restore the ecological integrity of these parks. If you go to Gashaka, although there are a whole host of different animals there, many animals have disappeared. Elephants became extinct about 20 years ago. Lions became extinct in that park about 20 years ago. If you go to Okomu, there have been similar extinctions. And the thing is that these animals are the animals that will attract tourists. So if we really want to make these parks the prime ecotourism destinations for Nigeria, we need to bring these animals back. So that is part of our vision. But very, very, very importantly, we want to make sure that these parks become engines for development, both in the local area and for Nigeria. If these parks don't generate jobs, don't generate income for Nigeria, why would we as Nigerians care about them? And that is why we don't even know how many parks there are in Nigeria, because they're not relevant to us in terms of bringing money and bringing jobs. So this is what we want to change. We want both Okomu and Gashaka Gumti to become sources of economic pride for the country, sources of income and revenue. Last but not least, we want to make sure that these parks become financially self-sustaining. Because if they rely on philanthropy alone, and then the philanthropists withdraw their funds, then those parks could collapse. Because government does not have the wherewithal to be able to protect these parks on their own. How do we make these parks financially self-sustaining? Just if you have a look at the picture, on the top left-hand corner, you have Okomu, thick rainforest. On the bottom left-hand corner, you can see Gashaka, completely different. Gashaka is a park of mountains and rivers, whereas Okomu is a park of thick, dense rainforest. So two very, very different contrasting areas. Next slide, please. So Gashaka Gumti National Park, why are we working there? Why do we choose this park? It's the largest park in Nigeria, 6,700 square kilometers. And it has a whole range of habitats: dry wooded savanna, lowland rainforest, montane grassland, and cloud forests. And it really is a park of mountains and rivers. It's absolutely spectacular. Very, very importantly, in 2017, we signed a 30-year partnership agreement with the National Park Service. And this was absolutely key because it gave us the mandate to work in the park. But it was a very visionary thing, I think, for the National Park Service to sign an agreement with a partner who could then sit alongside them to manage the park and bring in resources from outside. The park has some very, very key species which I'll go through. There's the Nigeria-Cameroon chimpanzee, endangered, the giant pangolin and the white-bellied pangolin, also very highly endangered. The leopard is one of only 2 places in Nigeria where leopards are still confirmed to exist. The African golden cat, it holds an important population of these. The Adamawa reedbark is an antelope that's only found in the chain of mountains dividing Nigeria and Cameroon and nowhere else in the world. And then for the bird lovers amongst us, important birds found in the park is the martial eagle, also endangered, the hooded vulture, critically endangered, Bannerman's weaver, vulnerable, and then the Abyssinian hornbill, which is listed as least concern in Africa, but in Nigeria, it is highly threatened. And we're proud that Gashaka Gumti is one of those places where this bird can be found. So you can see through the presence of these species, Gashaka Gumti is well worth protecting. Next slide, please. This picture just gives you, you can see some of the animals found in the park. We have the African golden cat, the Nigeria-Cameroon chimpanzee, the black and white colobus, chameleon, Abyssinian roller is the bluebird on the top. Gashaka Gumti really is a nature lover's paradise, both in terms of birds, in terms of animals, and this spectacular landscape. Next slide, please. This is something you see every day in the park when you're a bird lover's paradise. Okomu National Park is quite different. It's 202 square kilometers of dense, humid tropical rainforest, and in some places there's swamp forest and mangroves. Again, here we signed a 30-year partnership agreement with the National Park Service to do the same thing that we did in Gashaka. And again, we have Gumti is one of only 3 places in Nigeria where there are African forest elephants. We think there are about between 30 and 40 African forest elephants in the park. There is the white-bellied Gwenon monkey, only found in Nigeria and the neighboring Republic of Benin. So again, very, very, very endangered. And then for the bird lovers amongst us, again, the yellow-cast hornbill, endangered, very, very endangered through the illegal wildlife trade where people catch them from the forest, put them in cages, and export them. And now this bird, which was once a common bird, has become very, very highly endangered and could disappear if we don't protect it. Next slide, please. So here again, this is just a few of the animals found in the park. You have a blue duiker, the white-throated Gwenon I spoke about, African, and of course there's a huge variety of birds. So again, this is a very, very special park. Next slide, please. This is one of my favorite birds. It's the blue turacomb. Very, very attractive bird, and you see them all over the place in Okomu, but it's very, very hard to see these kinds of animals outside the parks anymore. Next slide, please. So why are we working in these two parks? Unfortunately, even though these parks are absolutely beautiful with all kinds of animals and birds, they're highly threatened. There are 70 communities living in and around Gashaka Gumti National Park, 23 communities around Okomu, and as is common amongst a lot of places around Nigeria, insecurity is an issue in both landscapes, which is why tourists cannot go or have not been going to these places. You have banditry, kidnapping, armed robbery in the wider landscape. And this is something that is, a factor of life when you're living in these places. But the thing that is really threatening these places is illegal logging, farm encroachment, poaching for bushmeat for the urban markets, illegal cattle herders flooding into the parks, setting the forests on fire, and then artisanal mining. Why are these threats there? It's because of poverty. If you go to Gashaka Gumti, the opportunities for employment are so few. So as a young man or someone living in the community, your only option to put food on the table is to engage in these illegal activities. So we quickly realized very early on that there is no way you're going to protect these parks without addressing the poverty in the landscape. And the National Park Service itself has suffered chronic underfunding for many, many, many years. The Ministry of Environment is actually one of the least well-funded agencies in Nigeria. And the National Park Service only gets a fraction of the money that comes to the Ministry of Environment, and that money is already small. And so how do you then have the resources to be able to protect these parks? So when we first got to Gashaka and when we got to Okomu, we met, rangers, very, very, demotivated, vehicles falling to pieces, often no light, no water, dilapidated offices. You cannot protect a national park when when you're having to deal with such few resources. Next slide, please. So one of the things that we realized is that we need to bring new money, additional funding, in order to protect these parks. We need to bring in new people, new human resources to complement and support what the National Park Service is doing. And in order to do that, the very first thing you have to do is you need to secure the mandate to be able to work in these parks. So through a process that took nearly 2 years of discussions, we signed a 30-year partnership agreement, both for Gashaka Gumti and then for Okomu National Park. And the important thing was that once we had signed these agreements with the government, that gave the private sector and other donors the confidence to put money into these parks. And very early on, when we went to our donors, we were told that without that partnership agreement, not one single kobo. So that signing of that partnership agreement with the National Park Service was very, very, very important in terms of unlocking the resources that were then available for us to be able to start developing the parks. The next thing we had to do was to secure the landscape. I talked about the banditry, the kidnapping, the cattle rustling. Nobody's going to go to these parks if you have insecurity in those landscapes. Even you yourself, you cannot work in those places if there's fear of kidnapping. And for the communities, every time they went to farm, when they were going to market, they could meet armed robbers and bandits on the way to, on the way. So you yourself, you cannot engage with those communities in that atmosphere of insecurity. So we realized very, very early on that dealing with the insecurity should be the #1 thing that we had to do. And really what we have done over the last 5 years is to bring the insecurity under control and to engage with the communities so that they support the conservation project. And this has been funded by philanthropy, thanks to very, very important donors such as the Leventis Foundation, who've been a consistent supporter of ours since we started. But we are now moving into the 3rd phase of development, and we call this the private sector investment phase. We do not want these parks to rely on philanthropy forever. We must have a long-term source of sustainable finance. So we're now moving into a phase of the parks being financed through ecotourism and carbon credits. And I'll explain more about that later, but this is very, very important to bring private sector finance into the parks. Next slide, please. So the governance framework. When we talk about governance frameworks, what do we mean? There are generally 3 different models for what you call partnerships between government and a non-governmental partner. They're very, very important things. So it is very, very important for a park to have a project manager who understands infrastructure. You can't have a project manager who just understands biology, or a park manager who just understands, I don't know, some other aspect of research. You need a practical, hands-on person who understands how to build roads, where to put buildings, where to find water, what kind of energy. Those practical skills are really, really, really important. And really for us, when one looks at project managers in national parks, often this key skill of infrastructure is missing, and it's something that we would like to see academic institutions addressing, giving protected area managers these practical skills for protecting a park. In Gashaka, for example, and in Okomu, we have built roads through the park because rangers need to be able to get to different parts of the park to tackle poachers, tackle loggers. We built a lot of buildings made of temporary materials inside the parks because you need to provide accommodation for your staff. We put in place solar, so you have 24-hour electricity. We have Starlinks providing internet. So often we have better communications than people in Abuja because we have 24-hour light, 24-hour water, 24-hour internet. But you need these things if you're going to manage a place in the middle of nowhere. But one of the things that is very key is that when you build infrastructure in a park, you must the environmental impact. And the National Park Service actually is quite strict about that. So before any infrastructure is built, we look at the infrastructure plans together because the National Park Service wants to make sure that if you're putting in a road, if you're going to build a building, the environmental impact is minimal. If you open a road, the next thing, farmers, hunters, all kinds of people can flood inside the park. So you need to think very, very carefully before you start putting any infrastructure into the park. Next slide, please. The next aspect that is really, really, really important is ranger-led law enforcement. Our speaker earlier mentioned the illegal logging, the poaching, the cattle grazers flooding into a place and setting fire everywhere. Unless you deal with these things, forget about conservation, forget about community development, forget about research. If your people are in the park and they're going to get kidnapped, you cannot do anything. So the very, very first thing that we did when we got to Gashaka Gumti, and the first thing we did when we got to Okomu, having put in place the critical infrastructure, was now to go about the place of recruiting rangers from the local communities. We also screened the existing National Park Service rangers to see how many of them will pass a certain standard in terms of fitness, because to be a ranger, you're patrolling for days in the bush. You may have to chase poachers, you may have to chase illegal loggers, so you need to be fit. You cannot have a big belly because you've been eating eba every day, and now when you go on patrol, now you have to run. You cannot do it, so you need to be fit. But another important criteria is honesty, because when you meet these people in the bush, they may offer you bribes. How honest is that ranger? How committed is he to the purpose of the job? And if you want to make sure that your rangers are not susceptible to bribes, they must be paid well. They must be paid well. If someone is not paid well, of course they will take a bribe. So what we did was to recruit these rangers from the local communities. These rangers, on a typical screening event, you could have as many as 1,000 youth assembling on the screening day. And the first thing they have to do is run 10 kilometers in under 1 hour. So you can imagine 1,000 people come together, run 10 kilometers in under 1 hour. Less than 50 will come back. So you have already screened out a lot of people. You then take those people who have passed that hurdle, and they go through a very intensive program of physical training, of endurance, to see how much stamina they have, how strong they are. And now we have 120 rangers in Gashaka Gumti local national park, all from the local villages. Same thing in Okomu, we have 28 rangers patrolling the park, also from the local communities. And what is key is that in any patrol team, you may have National Park Service rangers, you may have other rangers whose salaries are paid for by ANI. But the key thing is that the ANI and the rangers that are employed by ANI are National Park Service volunteers. Yes. So they're not rangers who are kind of out on their own. They are also part of the government system. And when rangers go on patrol, all the rangers are the same. They have an ANI badge on one arm, National Park Service badge on another arm. And all the rangers receive a similar level of salary. But very importantly, when you go on patrol, you get an allowance. So the more you patrol, the more you get an allowance. So and if you patrol a lot during a month, you could even double your salary. So the good thing now is that when it's time to patrol, rangers are struggling. They want to get their patrol allowance. So it's important to incentivize people to go out on patrol. And it is through providing these allowances and making sure that when rangers go on patrol, they're provided with their rations. They don't have to buy the food they're going to be eating when they go on patrol. Because they may go on patrol for 7 days. We also provide food. So the allowances that they get go into their pocket and into their bank account, and not into buying food to be on patrol. You should not have to pay for the things that you're doing in order to work. Very, very, very importantly is that when you give a ranger a firearm, you're putting him or her in a position of power. And that power could be abused. You have a gun now, you start asking for 500 naira, 10,000 naira from whoever you meet. So one of the things that our rangers are trained in is human rights, to make sure that if you meet someone in the park, you don't just get out your gun. Oh yeah, give me some money, bah, 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 I'm going to. It's very, very, very important to respect human rights. You've been given a role as a ranger. You have a position of authority in the community. You should not abuse it. And then we have put in place a community grievance mechanism. So the communities, if they feel that a ranger is abusing his position of power, they have a means by which they can complain to us. And we can then investigate whether that complaint is serious, and if it is, that ranger gets fired. So the rangers, when they go on patrol, they know they are being watched. And if they take a bribe or they abuse their position of power, they have to go. So you have this system of checks and balances to make sure that the rangers do what they're. So they're in constant communications with the headquarters. Look, I've met a big group of armed robbers. I need extra men. I've met a big group of armed robbers. I need extra men. I need extra backup. That communication system is very, very important. They also carry a tracker, which sends a signal to our headquarters every half an hour, so we can see where they are as they're, sometimes 2 or 3 days away from the headquarters. And then they also have an Android device. It's like a mobile phone. And with that mobile phone, as the rangers are on patrol, they collect data. They're walking all over the park. Every single time they see, I'm logging, for example, they press an icon on their phone. Every single time they come across hunter cartridges, they press an icon on the phone. But whenever they hear a chimpanzee call, they may press an icon on their phone. Whenever they maybe come across signs of elephants, they press an icon on the phone. What that then means is that every time they do that, a GPS point is taken because the Android phone is in contact with a satellite. And that then means that at the end of the patrol, when they hand their Android device in, we can now see, all over the park, where are all the places where they've seen logging? Where are all the places where they've seen poaching? And that then means is that the more you get these things, when you're now developing the next patrol for the next week, you can see, there's been a lot of logging in this place. Let's make sure we send rangers here. There's been a lot of cattle, cattle grazing and illegal bush burning in that place. Let's send rangers there. So that data that the rangers collect is very, very important. It's almost like building up an intelligence of where all the illegal activity is taking place in the park. But also, the elephants congregate in this part of the park. Let's send rangers there to make sure they're well protected. The rangers, the elephants and other animals are not down there. There are no threats there. Okay, maybe this week we will not send rangers there. So that data collection is very, very, very important in terms of giving us, information as to where to send rangers around the park. And you can see there's a picture on the right-hand side of rangers putting data into the Android device. And then on the left is a picture of our control room. You can see there's 2 computer screens there. And all that data I was telling you that the rangers are collecting gets displayed on those screens. And as the rangers are moving around the park, it's also displayed on that screen. So you may have Charlie team. Charlie team calls for help. They need extra backup or whatever. You just look at the computer screen and you know exactly where Charlie team is, and you mobilize a second team of rangers to go and give them backup. So having that control room in order to monitor and track the rangers is very important. And there's somebody in that control room 24 hours a day. And we have people who man the control room in shifts. So even if the rangers get into trouble at 3 a.m. in the morning, someone is there to answer the phone and then to send backup immediately. And this is what you need, because when a ranger is going into the park, they're putting their lives in danger. You have no idea what they may meet. And it could be that they meet bandits or whoever, but it could be that you are somewhere very, very far, and then somebody sprains an ankle or breaks a leg. How are you going to walk 4 days back to the headquarters? So a ranger faces so many risks, which is why you need to give them the tools to be able to do their job and to know that they're going to come home safely to their wives and their children, and then to be able to go back into the park the next week. Next slide, please. So just to give you can imagine training rangers, buying all of this equipment, building roads, buying a helicopter, having vehicles is very expensive. And the donors want to know, if we're giving you all of this money, so what? What have you achieved with the money we have given you? You're sending all these rangers on patrol. What have they achieved? So every single month, we produce a monthly report on what the rangers have been able to do. So I won't read everything, but just to give you an example, you can see that in 2023, we patrolled over 7,000 kilometers on foot. In 2024, we patrolled 11,000 kilometers on foot. Very, very, very importantly, in 2023, we made 293 arrests. This will be of poachers, loggers, but often sometimes bandits or kidnappers. We arrest anyone carrying out illegal activities inside the park. And in 2024, the number of people arrested went up to 577. Just to tell you why this is so important, often we have found that the same people carrying out the logging and the poaching are the same ones carrying out the banditry. So there was one village in Gashaka called Gumti in the north of the park. And we had a team of rangers going to Gumti, and as we got near Gumti, we saw a group of young men running away. So the rangers ran after these men, wrestled them to the ground, emptied their pockets, mobile phones, money from poor people in the village. So we took these young men back to the village. Everybody was jubilating. And it turned out that these young men, in fact, were notorious. They had been, carrying out armed robbery for years. So it's not just about protecting animals. You're actually protecting the people who depend on the resources in the park. And as a result of these rangers, both in Gashaka and Okomu, the crime rate and the insecurity has gone right down. And you can imagine the economic impact. Now the communities can now they can go to farm, they can go to the market, they can graze their cows, all of which they were frightened to do before. So this in itself is a huge economic impact to the communities, even before you've started doing anything in regards of community development. And for the communities, every single time we meet them, this is the thing that they thank us for, is bringing security and the rule of law back to these parts of Nigeria. Next slide, please. But you will remember in the beginning, I said that what is really, really important is that the parks must become engines for development. They must provide income and employment, both for the government, the national government, for the state government, but very, very importantly, for the local communities. Because when they get an income from the park, when they see the park is bettering their lives, they will be incentivized to help protect that park. The park must attract money from outside, which then goes into developing the communities. When that happens, they themselves will be motivated to protect that park, because it is bringing money to the communities that they would not have gotten otherwise if that park was not there. So what we have done, you can see this is a picture of Okomu National Park. That's Okomu National Park in gray. And we have identified a ring around the park in yellow. Typically, many NGOs will call that zone the buffer zone. And we also call it the buffer zone, but we also call it the economic zone. Because as far as we are concerned, all of the communities living in that economic zone are the ones whose lives must be better as a result of protecting the park. And I hope that one of the things we're now doing is tracking the income and the activities in those communities. Because if those communities are not better off, in 5 years from now, it's not just about protecting chimpanzees. If their income has not improved, I have failed, and it has failed. So conservation, when I say bringing nature and people back to life, this is what we mean. It's not just about bringing the chimpanzees back to life, protecting the birds. It's about bringing the people themselves back to life, so they themselves are incentivized to protect nature. As a result, because this economic rationale is so important, apart from the rangers that we have employed, 120 rangers in Gashaka, 28 rangers in Okomu, we have a team of community liaison officers. These are people whose sole job is to work with and to engage with the communities. And we have started to employ a group of people called Colados. Colado is a Fulani name, a Fulani word for somebody who is trusted. Because the role of a CLO or the role of a Colado is to build trust between the project and the communities. Do we understand each other? What are your problems? Can we help you with your problems? The pastoralist community is very, very important. And for pastoralists, they only feel comfortable talking to people that they feel understand them. So we felt it was very, very important to employ these Colados who are Fulani, so that they can speak to their kith and kin in those communities in order for us to build understanding with each other. Next slide, please. So how are we improving the lives of the communities? One of the programs we're very, very proud of is a Savings and Loans Group program. This is a program that we do in conjunction with a partner called Roshan Renewables. Roshan Renewables is a specialist organization with expertise in microfinance. We work with Roshan Renewables, and what they do is in each of the communities, they will bring people together into groups of 20, and they encourage these individuals to save money over a period of 3 months, after which we then give that group an interest-free loan to match what they have saved. The people in the groups are then encouraged to set up businesses, small and medium enterprises. So you have groups of women who have gone into gari grinding, they've gone into milling of rice, they've gone into groundnut oil production, basically enterprises that add value to agriculture, because most of the people in these places are involved in agriculture. And you can imagine a farmer, he gets a bag of maize. By the time he takes it to the women in their group, and the women grind the maize, he sells his bag of maize at a much higher price in the market. The women have gained money by providing a service to the farmer, And we have a group of women who are employing 3 men. And in Taraba State, women in the village employing 3 men, it's unheard of. It's unheard of, but the men themselves are very proud of the employment being given to them by the women. And so now we have actually empowered 2,500 women around Gashaka, Gumti, and Okomu National Park. We're now expanding this program to the young men, because the young men who are involved in logging or illegal cattle grazing, they also need to be empowered. And alongside this, we have distributed 3,000 fuel-efficient stoves, because a lot of these households spend a lot of money on firewood for cooking. And where does firewood come from? From cutting of forest. So by giving people fuel-efficient stoves, not only do they save money, because they're spending less money on firewood, you are saving the forests, and even the amount of smoke that causes respiratory problems is reduced. So this is a very, very important activity, and we're now looking at supporting these groups to go into fish farming, poultry, and making the fuel for the fuel-efficient stoves from briquettes, from agricultural waste. So hopefully they will not even use any firewood at all. And these are the enterprises that we want to see now in this economic zone around both of the parks where we're working. Next slide, please. Pastoralism. This is another big challenge. For sure, by far, probably the largest challenge facing Gashaka Gumti National Park is the threat from cattle herders who come into the park every single dry season to get fresh grazing for their cows. They set fire to the grassland, they set fire to the forest, not because they don't like forest, not because they want fresh grazing for their cattle. But the problem is that these fires destroy and degrade the landscape. And by the time you set fire this year, set fire every single year, all the trees start to disappear from the landscape, and then you get erosion. And there are large parts of Gashaka Gumti National Park, when you fly over the park, you just see bare earth and laterite because of overgrazing and fire after fire every single year. And in the end, you end up with a park that looks like a desert. How do we change this? So as a result, one of the things that we plan to do is to start to register all the herders and the cows that come into the park. So when a ranger meets you in the park, who are you? If you produce your registration certificate, no problem. If you haven't got one, what are you doing here? So that registration of cattle is very, very important. But you cannot do that unless you have the trust of the Fulanis. So this is why the collados are so important, because it is only when you build trust that you can start to register cattle herders, you can start to register cows. For sure, there are too many cows inside the park. And if we want to reduce the pressure in the park, we need to get the cows, or some of the cows, out of the park. But to where? You can't just push people out. They need to have a livelihood. So we are now beginning to look at identifying alternative grazing locations outside the park, which will sort of become ranches, but they'll be managed by the community, not by Annie. And in those alternative grazing locations, the idea will then be to support the herders with rotational grazing, where they move the cows around the grassland area, so they don't overgraze any one area. We improve the grasses, we give them veterinary support, all the technical things to ensure that they get a better livelihood than they were getting just by grazing the cows in the park, where they were being chased by rangers and facing all kinds of insecurity. And then within the park itself, we don't aim to get all the cows out of the park, but to zone the park. In the most ecologically sensitive areas, we might say, okay, no cows should be here. But in other areas that are not so sensitive, we could have coexistence with cattle and wildlife as long as it's managed. And again, doing this kind of things means that you must have trust with the communities in order to reach that kind of arrangement. If you don't trust each other, you will never develop these kinds of arrangements. And in the pictures there, that's on the left-hand side, that's David, who was formerly our community liaison manager, now our deputy project manager. And he's actually talking to a herder who has brought his cows for vaccination. We have vaccinated over 1,500 cows for free in order to in order to build trust with the pastoralist. And every single time a herder comes with his cattle, we then ask him, who are you? How many wives do you have? And as we're vaccinating the cows one by one, we're counting them. Because a pastoralist will never tell you how many cows he has. It's like asking someone how much they have in their bank account. But as you're vaccinating them, 1, 2, 3, you know how many cows he has. So that data collection is very important. And then on the left, on the right-hand side, you can see one of the veterinarians preparing the syringe in order to vaccinate the cows. Next slide, please. Agriculture and beekeeping. Over 70% of all the people living around Okomu and Gashaka are involved in agriculture. So there's no point talking about improving livelihoods unless you invest in agriculture. So around Gashaka, we're now supporting 500 farmers who form themselves into associations. We give them improved seeds, improved, and other agricultural inputs so they can improve their agriculture. But we have now started working with farmers to go into beekeeping. One very common practice in Gashaka, which is very upsetting, is when people want honey, they see a tree that has a hollow in it, they think the tree may have honey. They cut the whole tree down. A tree that could be 40, 50, 60 years old, you want to get honey out of the tree, you just cut the whole thing down. And why do they do that? They think the trees are infinite, inexhaustible. So what we are now doing is working with farmers to show that actually by constructing hives and putting hives in the forest, rather than walking 5 or 6 hours in the park, you're going up and down mountains and you find a tree and you cut it down. You could have the hives just behind your house in your backyard. And we're thankful to say that we're now supporting 50 farmers with over 250 hives, and we want to scale that up massively because honey is actually a very, very high value product. And for the farmers, they're diversifying their income and they're making money while we are saving the forest at the same time. We are now looking at developing cocoa, sustainable cocoa around Okomu National Park, and maybe looking at coffee around Gashaka National Park because Gashaka Gumti has the highlands in the Mambila Plateau which are perfect for coffee. The more investment and income we can bring to the communities around the park, the better for conservation. And over there is one of our beekeepers, very, very proud with the honey he's got from his hive. The other farmer is from Okomu, showing the cassava that he has been able to harvest as a result of the support we're giving to farmers. Next slide. So education. Education is also very, very important. There is no way you can lift yourself out of poverty without education. And that is why I am so honored to be here today, because education is the foundation and the bedrock for development of this country. And it is the same for the communities. They cannot lift themselves out of poverty without education. So we've started a program where we give 50 scholarships every single year to families who would not otherwise be able to send their children to school. And we are now refurbishing classrooms. I should have shown you a picture of some of the classrooms you meet around Gashaka Gumti or around Okomu. You will shed tears. Often they're always made out of mud. Often the building has collapsed. There's no blackboard on the wall. There's definitely no school furniture, no doors, no windows. How can you learn in that kind of environment? Even the teachers themselves are absentee. Either their salaries have not been paid, but how can you teach in those kinds of conditions? There is one school in Gashaka it has 3 classrooms. They have 80 students, and in one classroom you can have children from the age of 5 up to the age of 16 in one classroom. So what are you going to teach? But the entire school only has 2 teachers and no infrastructure to speak of. So it's not just a question of giving out scholarships, but you must improve the infrastructure and train the teachers. In many of these schools, the teachers themselves are volunteer teachers. Some can barely speak English. So unless you improve the quality of teaching, just spending money on a school building is a waste of time. But one of the things that we have also done is to start to bring excursions of children into the parks. Because many of these children living outside the park, You would think that they know what rainforest is. You think they've seen monkeys. Some of the children coming into Gashaka Gumti National Park had never seen a monkey in their lives. They didn't know how the rainforest looks. They don't, Gashaka Gumti, what is this place? What is this place? So by bringing groups of children into the park, where they're taught about the value of the forest, taught about the importance of the forest in terms of bringing rain, you can imagine when they go home to their parents, Daddy, please don't be a logger again, no. You are killing us, please go, and then we will give the father an alternative livelihood. So educating the children and opening their eyes to the value of nature has actually become a very, very powerful tool for changing the hearts and minds of the communities. And it's one of our most successful programs. You can see these children here. They're in the forest. They're actually by a river. They've got their exercise boots, and you can see the concentration in their face, how excited they are. And this is the thing that makes my job worthwhile, when I see children like that who become so excited about coming into the park. Next slide, please. Last but not least, we were very, very fortunate last year to get a grant from the Australian High Commission for a rural electrification project. There is no electricity in the southern part of Taraba State, none at all. And not one single of the 70 communities around the park have any electricity. So we got a grant from the Australian High Commission, and basically a team of engineers came to this community called Mayo Selbe, and they have electrified 66 households with solar electricity. And what happens is that each household has a mobile phone, and with a mobile phone that tracks how much electricity they're using, because it's important that they pay for the electricity even if it's subsidized, so they have an incentive to maintain the system. If the solar breaks down, because of the money they are paying, which they put into a community box, they need an engineer. They can pay for an engineer to come and fix the system. And you can imagine electricity. It raises the state, you can now read, you can do all kinds of livelihood activities that were not possible before. Next slide, please. Last but not least is research. You must collect data about the park in order to protect it. So we have deployed camera traps across the park to be able to see where animals live. And we had a big team of people come to the park to carry out a carbon stock survey. We've also had other researchers come to collect socioeconomic data, because it is through collecting data on the communities that you can understand what kinds of interventions are needed to improve their lives. And this is a picture of one of our rangers attaching a camera trap to the side of a tree, and that's a picture of a giant forest hog, which hadn't been seen in the park for over 20 years. And because of these camera traps, we've been able to confirm that it indeed exists in the park. Next slide, please. Over the next 3 years, what are the challenges? It may sound that from all the stuff we're doing, everything is fantastic and everything is rosy, but grazing, poaching, and mining in particular, are ongoing challenges. Mining has become a real problem, and the problem with mining is that it attracts criminality from other parts of the country, so this is something that we're still trying to deal with. With research, we haven't been able to do that much with research because of accommodation, but we're now in the process of building research buildings within the park. So we hope that in the next year or so, we'll be able to invite people from the University of Jos to come and carry out PhDs, master's programs, etc. within the park in an environment that is safe and secure. This is the most important thing. We want to reintroduce animals back into the park, as I had said earlier. Those animals are missing. But the real thing that we want to focus on is this economic activity around the park to improve the lives of communities. Next slide, please. I mentioned that we're focusing on carbon credits as a means of generating long-term sustainable finance for the park. By protecting the park, trees grow back. And as trees grow back, they absorb carbon dioxide from the atmosphere. This means that you can generate carbon credits, which you can sell. And the private sector will pay for those carbon credits because they are emitting carbon dioxide through their industries. And many companies will sign 30-year contracts to now pay for the protection of a park. And this is the kind of thing we want to do. We hope that in the next 2 years, we will sign a carbon agreement with, some organizations. And that means that for the next 30 years, they will pay for the protection of Gashaka Gumti National Park. And we want to do the same thing for Okomu. Next slide, please. And then the other important form of income to the park is ecotourism. It is very, very important that Nigerians from all over the country should be able to go to these places to see the wondrous, incredible, beautiful places we have in this country. And if you make sure these parks are safe, if you provide good quality accommodation that is affordable, many Nigerians will come from all over the country. They will spend money in these parks. That money will go towards the protection of the parks, but it will also now go into the livelihoods of the communities around the parks, because you need park guides, you need drivers, you need farmers to produce food. There are all kinds of jobs that are provided as a result of ecotourism. So this is something that we are now beginning to develop in both places, but it will take time. Next slide, please. Oh. I'm nearly finished. Next slide. So just to summarize, what have I said? The first thing is that governance is key. Unless we've been able to sign these governance agreements with the National Park Service, we would not have been able to get all the funding in that has enabled these activities to take place. So getting the right kind of governance mechanism in place in the beginning is very, very, very important. Engagement with stakeholders is very, very key, not just with the communities, but with government. The only reason why we were able to sign that partnership agreement and why we have been able to work with the National Park Service is because we have had to work very hard to build trust between ourselves. It's only when you trust each other that you can work together harmoniously. And it takes a lot of time and effort to make sure that you understand each other. Understanding the economic imperative, understanding the economic motivation for us is key. There's no point trying to do conservation if you don't look at the economic aspect, improving the lives of communities and retiring revenue to government. Very, 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 very important. And for me, conservation is not just about birds and chimpanzees. It must be about economics, especially in a developing country like Nigeria. Last slide. I want to outline 4 challenges to the people in the audience today. 4 challenges for you as emerging students in conservation. Number 1, how do we make conservation profitable? Annie is piloting an experiment in Gashaka, Gumti, and in Okomu, but we have over 1,000 forest reserves in Nigeria. How do we make conservation profitable around all those places, such that all the communities want to be a part of it? When conservation is profitable, you want to be a part of it. How do the young students in the University of Jos, who will be the future of conservation, how are we going to make conservation profitable? Challenge number 2, how are we going to bring artificial intelligence into conservation? Artificial intelligence is the future in all kinds of fields: medicine, agriculture, banking. Conservation itself is no exception. And artificial intelligence can make your life much, much more efficient in so many ways. So I want to encourage the university to think about this. If you're teaching biology and other natural sciences, how are you going to bring artificial intelligence into these courses? Because I think it is the future. And if we don't embrace artificial intelligence, we will be left behind. Challenge number 3 is around communications. There is no point, Annie, protecting Gashaka Gumti. There's no point protecting Okomu if nobody knows about it. And all of us today are glued to this thing. You know, you go into a room of young people, they're all staring at this phone. As conservationists, we need to bring protection of nature to this thing. because that is how we're going to get humanity to protect nature. So I think all of those people who are studying conservation at universities, communications and media must be an aspect of that. You need to become good communicators. You need to know how to use social media. You need to know how to use television. You need to know how to use radio to change hearts and minds. Unless we change hearts and minds, we are not going to win the battle to save nature on the planet. Last of all, more and more and more Nigerians are now living in cities. I believe the last time I looked, Nigeria was 40% urbanized. But they think that within the next 10 years, over 50% of the country will be living in cities. But when you go to our cities, there are no trees. There are no green spaces. Every single year, cities are being flooded. There's no green vegetation to stop the flooding. How do we bring nature and wildlife into our cities so we have more sustainable cities? This, I think, is a real challenge. Nature conservation is not just about our game reserves and our parks. It is actually about our cities where we live. And we should be planting trees along the streets in order to bring shade, bring wildlife, stop flooding. But we are not doing it. So I think I want to place this challenge to you here in the University of Jos. Conservation is not just about the wild places out in the middle of nowhere. It is also about bringing conservation into our cities, because this is where most of us live as Nigerians. Thank you very much, everybody.
A resounding applause. A resounding applause for our guest lecturer. Please, I think he deserves a standing ovation. Sir Tunde Morakinyo, Executive Director, African Nature Investors. Annie, University of Jos is indeed proud to have you. Thank you.
Thank you very
We're really
much.
grateful. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
In short, when I grow older, I would like to be like you. I love the passion. I love the drive, no, there's just so much in what you're doing. No, it's beautiful. It's beautiful. Thank you so much. You may have your seat.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. We are indeed grateful. And welcome back, adventurers. Welcome back from Gashaka, Gumti, and
Okomu.
National Parks. You're welcome back. It was a good adventure. It was interesting, as though he should continue. But we have to be mindful of time. Once again, please, a resounding applause for our guest lecturer. Thank you so much for this beautiful one. I would love to visit those places someday. Thank you so much. At this point, may I recognize the presence of the NUJ chairperson in the person of Mrs. Ayuko Paspo. Thank you so much. Thank you, too, for the beautiful collaboration we've been having with you, the journalists, the media. Thank you for the beautiful platforms that you provide for our stories to thrive. Thank you. Thank you so much. And we believe this will go far. At this point, we'll quickly go on to the next item, the presentation of Plague by the Vice Chancellor, University of Jos. This will be presented to our guest speaker. We'll be taking this quickly, after which we'll be taking the dance performance by creative curators of Lives Art. Please, can you kindly make this brief? We would really be grateful to have you do this in 5 to 7 minutes, because we're way behind time. Thank you so much. The Vice Chancellor, ma'am.
On behalf of the Vice Chancellor of the University, Professor Tanko Ishaya, the Senate members, our Center of Excellence, APLORI Center of Excellence, for inviting you, we present this plaque to you. And we thank you for being partners with us through AP Leventis. Thank you for enabling us to be partners with Tunde Morakinyo. Thank you, sir. Yes, sir.
Thank you so much, the Vice Chancellor, University of Jos. Thank you, Mommy.
I'm not the comparee, but I plead with you. For those who are going to give goodwill messages, we'll limit you to 1 minute. Please, 1 minute.
Thank you so much, the Vice Chancellor, for helping me. I wanted to plead for that. Thank you. Thank you. So we'll be taking the dance quickly, 5 to 7 minutes. Can we have you? The creative curators of life's arts. Let's have you, please. Thank you. If you exceed time, I will join you. So you would be mindful of our time, please. Eat your time, please. Eat your floor. Are they around? Can you please signal? Are you around? Okay. So we'll, okay.
Just like you, I just got to know about Gashaka Gumti today. And I am sure you are all amazed, or some of you are amazed by the beauty of Gashaka Gumti. The story we're about to tell is about our land and how well we can preserve it. I hope by the end of this short playlet, you will be convinced beyond every reasonable doubt that we need to protect what we have. Watch and learn.
Have you forgotten that that is how I was able to gain you from your father's house? My right.
You both should get a bedroom.
My friend.
Oh?
How are you doing?
I'm fine. I'm struggling.
What's going on?
I don't know how to use this. And I told my son not to get me this. Eh?
So you did not go to school now, you have forgotten. Sorry, it's not an insult.
Okay. It's okay, my friend. My friend. Oh, you know how women behave.
Yes.
You know, just so how are you doing? Why are you standing here on this road?
My Chinese contact just called that tree. That beautiful tree. I don't know the name. That beautiful tree. They asked for it. Yes.
My friend, please tell me you are joking.
Was I laughing when I said it?
I thought we discussed this last week now.
That
we will no longer cut down this tree.
Speak for yourself, oh. Speak for yourself.
My friend.
But these things are nature's gift to us. Our fathers cut it down. My grandfather did the same. Me, I will not be different.
Yes.
My friend.
The last time you stopped me and money left me. Look at Shehu. Shehu was bragging at me yesterday, and today, God has done it.
Don't even go far. Look at us now. Since when did I tie a new rapper?
Please come close your mouth there.
See, there's nothing you want to tell me today that will stop me. You've been saying all these things. The animal this, the animals that, the birds this, the birds. What about me?
My friend, these things like you said are nature's gift to us. That does not mean that we should continue cutting and cutting and cutting. What if they finish? And the birds that make this tree their house no longer.
Have you seen Gashaka Gumti? Does it look like to fish anytime soon?
My friend, it will. It will.
See, there's nothing you can do to stop me. I am going there right now. And today, to get it, there's nothing you can do.
My friend.
Take it easy.
What's the problem?
They have come. Who? All the money I spent.
What did they do? What happened?
They came and they said everybody go to the forest. They are going to kill him.
Are you serious?
This boy can lie. Anyway, we have our secret mode to take to that place. If you like, they should have like 200 rangers there. I must get that tree, my friend.
My friend, these trees and these animals are under the protection.
Shut up! Stop talking! Don't annoy me. Am I not supposed to be in the farm? You want those birds to come down again? Pass.
Papa, please don't go to the forest.
I said go!
Go and take care of the farm.
Okay, I'll take you. be sweet. Is it?
Your mother.
What does that have to do with anything? But my friend, I think you should see reason what this boy is trying to say. What if you go to this to the bush to cut the streets and then something bad happens to you?
What
you get arrested?
Done for me. Oh God.
What is it this time?
Bayero, what is it?
I forgot what you said.
Ah.
I was just joking. I met one of those on the.
We all know you cannot say it. What is it?
I met one on the.
Oh.
Whatever. Where did you meet them?
This boy is not a serious boy. This guy is not a serious boy.
My friend, I am still of the opinion that
Bayero,
you calm down. There are
talking,
more reasonable
talking.
ways to go about this.
Stop talking. Stop talking. See, talk to your husband.
What is wrong with you now?
Afternoon.
Yeah,
Madam, if you want to talk to us, talk to us.
It's okay. Good afternoon.
Afternoon, madam. Please permit my friend. He has very short temper.
No problem.
You will not tell them my date of birth?
It's okay. My name is Madam Grace. I am an environmentalist.
Oh.
Yes, I am sent here. Yes, to come and study your environment, know what is happening, write a report. Because both things have started rolling. We are bringing innovations. We are bringing help. Yes, we are coming to save the park.
My friend, I told you. Comment is working on it. I told you.
All of you are saying the same thing. The animals, the birds, the trees. What about me? What about us?
It's okay. We know your plight.
Do you know that these birds destroy my crops? Do you know that the animals chase our cattle? And we are not compensated. And we cannot touch these animals because they are under the government protection. So what happens to us? What happens to me? How do I survive? Shut up your mouth.
No. I want to hear this. Madam, please carry on. Let's hear what you have to say.
Thank you very much, sir. It seems you are the only one that can understand me here. I said earlier that we understand your plight. See, these trees that you are talking about, the birds that you are talking about, this wildlife, they are also here for our good. We are living in a symbiotic system. They are not parasites. Do you understand? If these trees are not there, if you cut them off, the birds do not have home. The wildlife do not have home. And we are coming with these plans. In fact, I've written in my report. You saw me taking pictures. I've written in my report that the broken fences should be rebuilt. I've also written in my report that we'll liaise with the community. We'll build partnership with the community, all right? So that we can bring in security agents to protect the forest and even your own life. And see, we are coming with a lot. So in case you don't know, UNESCO is about to recognize this place as a World Heritage Center, meaning that the whole world is going to hear about your community. Oh. With that, your children will gain employment. You will have means of survival. Oh. Yes. So it is for your good. We are doing this for your own good. So please, help us save the place. Help us keep the place. If not, imagine if the trees are there, they help even in the weather. This harsh sun will reduce. Please help us and let us help the animals. Please. Thank you very much, sir. I know you are angry, but calm down.
Thank you very much, sir. Let me join in telling you thank you.
Thank you
very much for listening to us, sir.
Ladies and gentlemen, I hope we've spoken to your conscience. You spread the good word out there. Gashaka Gumti needs us. Our natural reserve needs us. I hope you spread this news out there. Thank you.
Please, a resounding applause for them, and thank you for allowing me to be part of your drama. Thank you so much. That was a beautiful one. Ladies and gentlemen, permit me to move on to the next item, goodwill messages. We'll be taking the goodwill messages at this point. May I most respectfully call on the National Park Service representative in the person of Alhaji Ahmed Mante, the board chair, Leventis Foundation, Nigeria, to kindly... Okay. So, we will be calling on Sir Joshua Moses. That's please a resounding applause for him as he does that. And thank you so much for agreeing with our 1 minute, sir. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The speaker was speaking to my heart as if I was actually in Kwano and Gashaka. I was with him for 4 years between 2019 and 2023. And the CG had given me his goodwill message to read to this honorable house. I will see I will manage the 1 minute to read through the CG's goodwill message. The name is Jonah Chumtan Moses. I'm a deputy conservator of park, currently the acting conservator of park of Pandam National Park in Plateau State. Some of you will actually be amazed. We are going somewhere. The federal government is taking over 10 national parks. 5 has now been taken over. I just left Adeja Wetland National Park as a pioneer CP, and I am pioneering Pandam by the grace of God. To ensure we go with the 1 minute given us, let me quickly read the goodwill message of the Conservator General, Dr. Ibrahim Musa Goni, whom I'm standing in for, putting on this big shoe that is actually very massive. This goodwill message is delivered by him on this 9th Leventis lecture organized by the APLORI Ornithological Research Institute, Center for Excellence, APLORI, and University of Jos Biological Conservatory. Permit me to stand on the well-established protocol. The 9th Leventis lecture of this Noble Conservation Institute is apt at this moment of awakening global concern on protected areas and participatory management practices and approaches. The roles of non-governmental organizations, CBOs, private partners, individuals, or groups have remained very significant in the biodiversity, protected area management, as well as support zone development. The theme of this lecture, bringing nature and people back to life in Gashaka Gumti National Park and Okomu National Park, speaks volume about this concerted effort of African nature investors and the foundation in these parks through resuscitation of the ecosystem, logistical support, provision of operational equipment and infrastructure, rangers training and kitting, park boundary demarcation and beaconing, support zone community development and enhance youth and women development, among others. ANI entered into a 30-year agreement with National Park Service to develop Gashaka National Park and Okomu National Park for provision of technical and financial support as well as ecotourism enhancement. Within these past few years, since 2017, ANI, through the support and collaboration with the National Park Service, has recorded tremendous successes and achievements as outlined here. Biodiversity management, supporting intact, resilient ecosystems that sustain healthy wildlife population, community development, that is uplifting local people and encouraging their participation in conservation. 3, law enforcement, protecting parks with cutting-edge strategies and train rangers. 4, financing, securing long-term finance for protected areas to ensure their futures. And 5, research and monitoring, using quality data to improve management strategies. Ladies and gentlemen, while we call for more partnership in this regard to join ANI and many other development partners, especially APLORI, WCS, NCF, WSCN, etc., who are already partnering with the National Park Service and doing a great job in these parks. I also call on all stakeholders here in Plateau and its environs to extend hands of support and patronage to Pandam National Park in Plateau State that has just been taken over by the federal government and requires a lot in areas of protection, infrastructural enhancement, and support on community development. The National Park Service is open to welcoming all interested developmental partners in this regard as we continue to give our existing partners the necessary support towards a sustained, effective, and efficient collaboration. I thank APLORI for the invitation to this program and the continued partnership with the National Park Service towards sustained biodiversity conservation and education. I wish you all a happy 9th Leventis lecture session. Thank you very much, and God bless.
Thank you so much, sir. We appreciate your presence here. Before the Dean, Faculty of Natural Sciences comes up, may I recognize the presence of Mr. Linus Kingi, Director, National Museum, Jos. You're welcome, sir. Please, a resounding applause for him. We also have joining us Dr. Gad Shamaki, the Global President, University of Jos Alumni Association, and Council Member, University of Jos. You're welcome, sir. May I call on the Dean, Faculty of Natural Sciences, here represented Professor Kizea Absalom of Zoology, to kindly take the 1 minute goodwill message. Please, let's appreciate her.
Thank you very much, the Vice Chancellor, our founder, our board chairman, and all the professors present, guests. I say good afternoon to all of you. I don't have much to say. The time given to me is just 1 minute. And I really am standing here because my dean is not around, Professor Micah Kumlen. So I just want to say that we are really very happy as a faculty to win our baby. The baby has matured and we're the baby to a center of excellence. The center has summarized its achievements, as you can see on the program pages 10 to 11. They have done so very excellently well. And the researchers there are the best so far brains that the department and the faculty has offered the center. So as they continue, I'm sure we're going to see many more results. We want to also appreciate our guest speaker for what you have delivered to us this afternoon. Your presentation has been so beautiful. Thank you very much. And all the points you have raised, we will take care of them. Director APLORI, you've noted those, I believe. So there will be improvement, particularly how nature is connected to humanity for a better life. Thank you very much.
Please, a resounding applause for the Dean. Thank you so much. Thank you, Ma. At this point, may I respectfully call on His Royal Highness Reverend Dr. Isaac A. Wakili, the Agom Izere of Izere, and the father of the day, to kindly give his goodwill message. Please, a resounding for him. At this point, I don't know if I have the courage to remind him of the 1 minute. However, sir, we appreciate you. Please, let's appreciate His Royal Highness, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, sir.
The Vice Chancellor, heavily represented by the representative, our Honorable Commissioner that is here present, members of the high table for once of time, use the opportunity to congratulate the Vice Chancellor and his team for hosting Nigerian University game here. May God continue to bless you in Jesus' name. It is great joy and deep honor that I stand before you as the Royal Father of the Day at this important academic gathering, the 9th Leventis Lecture of the AP Leventis Lecture Research Institute, University of Jos. I extend my warm greetings and heartfelt goodwill to everyone present here. The theme of this year's lecture, bringing nature and people back to life, have come at a more crucial time. Across our communities, we are witnessing the undeniable aspect or impacts of environmental degradation, the deterioration, loss of biodiversity, and the disruption of the delicate balance between man and nature. These changes threaten not only our environment, but also our livelihood, health, and heritage. As children of culture and tradition, we have long recognized a scarred bond between humanity and nature. Our forebears live in harmony with the land, the forests, and the animals, understanding that to destroy nature is to destroy ourselves. Today, it is our collective duty as scholars, traditional rulers, policy makers, and citizens to restore harmony. I commend the AP Leventis Ornithological Research Institute for its remarkable contribution to hereditary research, welfare conservation, and capacity building across Africa. Your efforts in training young African scientists and promoting sustainable environment stewardship of national and international recognition. I urge everyone here to translate the insight from this lecture into practical community actions, from reforestation and initiative to public awareness and local engagement. Together, we can indeed bring both nature and people back to life. On behalf of the traditional institution, I reaffirm our commitment to supporting all efforts that promote environmental sustainability and peaceful coexistence between man and nature. May the outcome of this lecture continue to inspire collaboration, innovation, and a renewed sense of responsibility towards our planet. Thank you, and may God bless University of Jos, APLORI, and all participants. May God continue to bless us in Jesus' name. Once again, I want to use this opportunity to thank the guest lecturer. You have done justice to this lecture. Thank you very much. May God continue to inspire you with the spirit of understanding. May God bless you in Jesus' name.
I believe His Royal Highness deserves more than this. Please, let's appreciate him before he will tell me to bring 6 goats. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you, Your Highness. At this point, we will be taking the vote of thanks by the Director, APLORI, Professor Adams A. Shasta. Please, a resounding applause for him. Thank you, sir. You're welcome.
I thought I've actually reserved the easiest job for myself, but after all that has taken place here, I now realize that it is actually one of the most difficult things to do. So in the sense that when everybody else has done their job excellently and you are called to appreciate them, it becomes a very big burden because you don't really know what the right words what the right word should be. So, and most especially when you have your boss with having almost 91 universities within the university at the moment competing under the National University Games and sparing time to be part of your program, I think that is a very big thing for you. And then when you also have your funder and founder traveling several kilometers to actually, in fact, thousands of kilometers to be part of your program, it also shows that you have a very big burden. And you have to scramble to look for the right word to appreciate that. And we all have a guest speaker who has so many things in his hands, a lot of projects as you have seen, and he still forgot that and found the time to leave. It's still a very big thing as well for us. And we have the Commissioner for Culture, Tourism and Hospitality. He has left quite a lot of things, and then even when he missed his way, he has every reason to have given up on this, but he still went ahead to look for the venue and still blessed our occasion. It's a big thing for us. So there are a lot of people who made contribution to this scene, a lot of them APLORI staff. If there is any trophy at all that will be given for what has taken place today, it's not my trophy, it is actually your trophy. And if there's any responsibility to take for anything that has gone bad, it is the box tops on my table. I take full responsibility for that. So in search of the right words to appreciate all the people who have made contributions and the wonderful audience and members of the press who have been here. And because I'm not an English person, so I will say that we are deeply, deeply thankful for your presence, and we wish you a safe trip back to your respective destinations. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you, Director APLORI, Professor Gashaka. With this, ladies and gentlemen, we have come to the end of this 9th Leventis lecture, organized by AP Leventis Ornithological Research Institute, APLORI, Center of Excellence, University of Nigeria. Thank you so much for gracing this with your presence. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for your patience. Thank you to those we had to rush for want of time. Indeed, it was a fruitful day. May I request us to kindly stand as we take the University of Jos anthem, after which we'll be taking the national anthem. Then the procession will follow. Our national anthem the third stanza would be our prayer for the day as we close. So we'll be taking the University of Jos anthem, then the national anthem. Can we say the third stanza? O God of all creation, grant this our one request. Help us to build a nation where no man is oppressed, and so with peace and plenty, Nigeria may be blessed. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. With this, please can we remain standing where we are while we take the procession? After the procession, the dignitaries, may I request that the dignitaries to please kindly join them. Immediately the procession ends, the dignitaries follow immediately, please. The procession will commence in the reverse order, led by the Vice Chancellor, University of Jos, Professor Tanko Ishaya, here ably represented by the Deputy Vice Chancellor Academics, Professor Rahila Planan Gowon. She will be leading the procession, followed by a member of the management of the University of Jos, the librarian, Professor Victoria Ladi Lawal, here ably represented by Minker Dajab. Following in no particular order will be our guest lecturer, Tunde Morakinyo, Executive Director, Ani Foundation. We also have 9th Leventis, APLORI Institute. We have Dr. Osibanjo D.O., Assistant Director, ORD. Also on the procession is Dr. Talatu Tende, Deputy Director, APLORI. Dr. Hope Ove Useta, Executive Director, Leventis Foundation, Nigeria. We have Dr. Lonton Trusha, Media Department of Zoology, University of Jos. On the procession is Professor A. Ahmad from Plant Science Department. We also have Professor Kezia Absalom, HOD Zoology. We have Namojo Joffrey, Country Manager, Annie Foundation. Dr. Lucy Akpa, Department of Zoology. Dr. N. Nanim, Zoology. DCP Jonah Moses, Acting Conservator of Park Pandam National Park. We have Nankerdi Dajab, We have Louisa Leventis, Leventis Foundation, Iveren, Abion Plant Science and Biotechnology, Dr. Stella Agbe. Thank you so much for being part of this event. May I request the dignitaries to kindly follow them up. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen, for gracing this event. Thank you so much for being part of this adventure we had this afternoon into the Gashaka, Gumti and Okomu National Parks, Nigeria. Thank you so much for being part of the 9th Leventis Lecture with the topic Bringing Nature and People Back to Life. I hope you go out here inspired to protect nature and to do your very best to